Hey, everybody, welcome to the Curling Community Connection. It is Fun Friday. Talk about fun guy here. Hey, we're going to have another guest that this is his second chance on the show. He's going to kind of tell us a little bit more about where he is in his campaign. I'm talking about Seth Blattman, small businessman. He's got running for the seat in the Senate for District 23. A lot to say, a little bit of time, so we're just going to kind of get right into it. Remember, if you have a question for Seth or myself even, just write it into the chat bar, put a little question mark in the front, and we will get it over here into the Zoom chat and answer for you as best we can. If you just want to have a comment, just go ahead and comment away. If it's a nice one, we'll share it. If it's not nice, we're not going to share it. So, Seth Blattman, how you doing on this Friday? Longest week of the year, I think, right?
I don't know about the longest week thing, but I'm doing great today. Thank you for having me back for a second time. I didn't get to play the game that I saw everyone else play since my last appearance, so I needed to come back on and try something out.
Yes, you cried, you whined, you did all those things. You did a little fit, and here you are. I shouldn't reward that behavior, but because I want your vote, we're here today. And we're going to play a game. I don't know if you're going to like it, but we're going to play.
Okay, I'm nervous. I'll be honest, but no, I'm yeah excited. Let's do it.
Be honest. You're a politician now. What do you mean honest? Those things, it's an oxymoron.
We're Democrats.
Yeah. Hey, so last time we talked, you are a small business owner. You were just in the first part of the pandemic, and you had to make some financial decisions for your business and sacrificing or not sacrificing health. And so we talked a little bit about the government programs and the PPP. Can you update us on where you are in that whole loan thing and where you are business wise?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I took over running a family business 6 years ago. It's furniture manufacturing down by Sky Harbor. We have a factory, and then we have two retail stores. So in this entire thing, I feel like we got really lucky, it almost feels bad because I know other people are struggling way worse than we are. So our business was considered essential during that period, for the reason that we provide home office furniture, and people needed home office furniture during this period as they worked from home. So we were able to stay open during the shutdown that Governor Ducey put in place for far too short of a period. But during that period, we were able to stay open. So our factory remained open. We kept producing. Our employees kept coming in. We did what we could to mitigate risk as far as everyone wore masks and gloves out in the factory, trying to be as safe as we could about it. The month that we were shut down, our retail stores could remain open, but everyone stopped coming in because everyone stayed at home. So our retail revenue dropped to pretty close to zero. Our manufacturing, we kept getting orders coming in at a pretty steady rate. A lot of it is because we sell a lot of e-commerce clients like Wayfair or Amazon. So we were able to maintain there, but it was pretty key that we were able to stay open. On the loan front, so it was a frustrating process. Certainly seeing big companies like Shake Shack and Roots Chris get their loans early on. We didn't get our loan early on.
But let's be honest. Let's be honest. They make burgers where you make furniture. What do we need more of?
We need more burgers.
I'm just
We
kidding.
need more burgers. You're right. You're right. That's an essential product. I ate Shake Shack the other day, so
Did you really?
Yeah, yesterday.
You are a big spender, my friend. You are a big spender.
When I ask what's for dinner and the girlfriend doesn't want to do something expensive that night and wants to do Shake Shack, I'm on board. Like, let's do it.
What do you live in the 50s? What the girlfriend wants for dinner? Come on, man. You should be in there cooking, son. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. I took you off of this exciting story about the triple Ps.
Yeah, so we got lucky with that as well. So we applied early. We have three businesses, so we applied early for the three Ps, the triple P, and we also applied early for the disaster relief loan. The first thing that we got so you were supposed to get a $10,000 advance on the COVID disaster relief loan. That was supposed to come within 3 business days of applying. About a month after we applied, we got our first advance, which was for a few $1,000s. They had sort of restructured the whole program without telling anyone.
Overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah, and we were applying for something for a couple 100,000, and so we got like a few thousand, but it was good to get, but we thought that was the end of it.
Come
And
on,
then
don't give me that good to get. You're expecting a couple of hundred. Come on. If you get 2% of a hamburger, you're not eating. Come on.
yeah, okay, I wasn't very happy. And
There you go. Show the spirit.
so then fairly, I guess it was probably like 3 weeks ago. So this is like a month and a half after we applied. The payroll protection program loan did come through. So we got our loan for our manufacturing, which we employ a lot of people there. So it was a substantial loan, which also is forgiven. 80% is forgiven if we do things right, if we keep paying our employees, which we are. So that really was extremely helpful. It was a godsend. I mean, without the loans, I don't know that where we'd be right now. So we got the payroll protection loan for quite a bit of money. It's going to be forgiven. The remaining balance is at a very low interest rate long term. And then we actually got it for the other two businesses as well. And then something last week, we actually got the disaster relief loans as well for two of the three businesses now, which were fairly big for us, very much needed. We needed that money, in order to stay in business. And again, they're low interest, long-term loans. So, the federal government really came through for us, but I don't think that's true for everyone. And as part of campaigning, I do talk to a lot of people in our community. I talk to small business owners, and I know that we are lucky. Not everyone got those loans, and people are still out there suffering. And if you're in an industry like hospitality or food service, this is not easy, and they haven't gotten their loans, and I feel blessed that we have.
All right. So you were just talking a little bit about talking to voters and everything. So we have a special voter by the name of Dave Long. He's over there in Fountain Hills. Hey-o! Dave wants to know, would you again summarize your priorities upon assuming a seat in the Arizona Senate?
Sure, absolutely. Hi, Dave. Good to see you.
You don't
I'm
see
Dave.
Dave. You
I
don't
live.
see Dave. You see
Okay,
me.
I see you and only you. Good to hear from Dave. We were at Fountain Hills yesterday for that protest, which was, good to see young people out there, expressing their First Amendment rights. Priorities are, I think the priority for every Democrat is funding education. It's something that, I think like a lot of people, when I first got involved a couple years ago, I knew about federal issues. And it wasn't until I got more involved in LD23 that I learned about state issues. And, I heard Eric speak early on. And, it wasn't until then that I knew we were not good at education, but it wasn't until then that I understood really the true, state that we're in. So education, I think for every Democrat running is the number one priority. Being 49th, that needs to change. I don't know if they're looking at cutting it further with the effects of the recession, but that can't be allowed. I also, as a small business owner, and as someone that grew up here, I do want to bring higher quality jobs here to the Valley. Most of the people unfortunately don't have many friends left in Arizona because they all left for their dream jobs in other states. And I want to bring those same career opportunities here. I know what you're going to say.
I'm going to resist that. Okay. You just teed one up for me. And as a courtesy, even though it's Fun Friday, I'm going to resist that dig.
Okay. I appreciate that. I have friends.
Don't freeze on me.
Okay. I have friends. So bringing high quality jobs to hopefully attract some of those people back. I just don't think it's sustainable to lose our best and our brightest year after year.
I want to push you a little bit, Seth. This is what I want to do. Okay. We all want to bring good paying jobs.
Sure.
How do you do it?
Sure. I don't know if everyone would agree with me, but subsidies are the way to do it. You have to attract. We are in a competitive environment. We are competing with other states. If those other states are offering more attractive subsidies than we are going to lose to those other states. We've done some good stuff recently. We attracted a major microchip manufacturer here, and that was a great win. We have a clean energy truck company that's providing a lot of jobs here. So we are attracting jobs, but we just need to be working at it. That needs to be our full-time job almost, because without those jobs, people are just going to leave after they get their high-quality education. After you and the rest of the Democrats and myself have had their way. So I don't want them to leave. So we are in a competitive environment, and we do need to attract these companies. So we need to do what it takes. And, largely that's subsidies, tax incentives, those sorts of things. The third priority, which is actually really my first priority,
I just want to say, as you say, Democrats and everybody, I'm not really on board with the whole subsidies, tax cuts, and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah,
just as you and I would have to dialogue a little more about that.
yeah. So, and I think Democrats are not on board with that majority. I on board with funding education, but I would agree with you that that's not the Democratic position. Subsidies.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Put the Democrats aside. You're on the Curlin Community Connection. I'm not speaking for everybody. You're speaking for yourself. I'll speak for myself. And I'll get a puppet to speak for other people, like a little vaudeville thing. But, I mean, I'm open to talking about it, but our state has been doing carve-outs and special interest favors for 25 plus years. And we are in this position. And I know that there was that guy with that crazy hair and the tongue sticking out that said the definition of insanity is to continue doing the same thing by hitting your head against the wall and expecting a different result or whatever. So yes. With that being said, go on to your choice number 3.
Okay. And I will not, try to speak for anyone else. And I'd love to have this discussion with you because it would be a good give and take. So my third priority, which is really my first priority, is reforming government. Government ethics reform is something that we desperately need that's been overlooked over the last period of time. We've seen multiple current legislators accused of misconduct and nothing has been done about it. With some fresh blood in the legislature, I would hope that we can systemically address these issues so that they're not issues moving forward. Also, campaign finance reform. To the extent that the legislature does have the ability to say anything about this, getting money out of politics has been my pet issue for as long as I can remember. I think it's corrosive to democracy. I think it gives people who gives corporations, gives large donors an unfair advantage, and I think it does not result in the best interests of the people who representatives are meant to represent, which are the people and not just their largest special interest donors. And I think if we are able to take money out of politics and fix some of these systemic issues, I don't want to just fund education for 2 or 4 or 8 years or as long as Democrats hold power. I want to fund it for forever, indefinitely. And I think we need to fix some of those systemic problems that elect the wrong people so that we can elect the right type of people that will fund it for the future.
I like that passion. I do agree. I think that's wonderful. You talked a little bit about ethics. You are running against who I think is a very unethical person. I'm going to tee one up for you. Tell me which is the worst thing she's done that you believe needs to come before an ethics panel.
Sure. So I guess with that, I can't talk about her unethical legislation. That's probably not up for debate. I mean, I think most of the legislation she proposes is unethical. It's unethical to make it harder for people to vote or people that have the least access to the ballot box to begin with. I mean, since the Equal Rights Amendment went away, Arizona, I think, is the worst state in the nation. So that's the thing I take most issue with her. As far as ethics go, I'll try to put this as nicely as possible, but she had some credible allegations against her of her sexually harassing a lobbyist. So badly that the lobbyist, sought therapy and resigned her job. These are credible allegations and should be investigated by the legislature. And they have not been investigated, and that's just really them abdicating their responsibility.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely. I mean, a lot of people focus on the whole tawdriness of the body shots or the threesome. I think you have to, adults will be adults. Consenting adults will be consenting adults. But when you have a power imbalance and you are a legislature messing around with somebody's livelihood, you got a real issue there. That's corruption of power.
Yeah, and this is in the middle of the Me Too movement, which is an amazing thing that's taking place in our country. And I mean, it's a sea change that as well, I mean, it's overdue, it's needed. And our legislature, regardless of gender, doing the bad stuff. This is stuff we need to take seriously, and she's not the only one. They've overlooked other Republicans who have had other allegations against them, and this just we are living in a world where this is not acceptable anymore, and we need new legislators to actually take their job seriously.
Yeah. Dave Long. Hey, Dave. Another question. Thank you very much. Let me interrupt now at the 15-minute mark. We're talking with Seth Blattman. He's a candidate on the Democrat side for District 23 Senate seat, one of 30 he's hoping to be down there at the Capitol, at the Copper Dome. And Dave Long out in Fountain Hills wants to know what sources you tap to for better education, schools, teacher salaries. Where's the money?
Sure.
Where be the dough?
Sure. So everyone likes to use the rainy day fund for their issue. Realistically, there's pre-COVID and post-COVID. Pre-COVID, I think using the rainy day fund was a real possibility. I mean, it's not really a surplus when you have education in such dire straits. But now there's post-COVID, which, revenue for the state is going to be down. People are already talking about cuts. My opponent is the most vocal one about cutting, looking at next year's budget and making cuts already. And I think she's going for education again. So where did the money come from? I mean, the answer is, the rating A fund, and then outside of COVID, normally the idea of Invest in Ed is proposing raising taxes on the top few percent to benefit children, and that's an investment. That's an investment they should be willing to make. It's by no means an expense, and it needs to stop being viewed that way.
Yeah, the Invest in Ed ballot initiative. It looks like they're collecting the signatures enough to get it on the ballot. It's really something that every piece of education funding, any kind of revenue source, has had to come through citizens getting the signatures, thousands upon thousands, and then going out and getting people to vote yes. And invariably they do vote yes, because they do understand, voters understand that education is the lifeblood of our community. Let's get into some of the more current issues, okay?
Yeah.
Supreme Court ruled recently three cases on gender equality and not being able to discriminate, but that doesn't go very far. Can you talk about what your thoughts are on the Supreme Court decision and what might need to happen here in Arizona?
Sure. So the Supreme Court did a great thing in a surprising decision. Our current president thought he appointed a conservative Supreme Court, and probably through his own actions has made them now progressive to a degree. John Roberts seems to take his position as Chief Justice quite seriously, and he is worried about the legacy of his court. And so he has decided to be on the right side of history of some of these issues. So the idea that transgender people are can no longer be discriminated against in the workplace, the idea that someone can get married on one day and then have to lose their job the next day because of current precedent. That the fact that that's going away is something that's overdue, is something that's needed, and I'm very happy about. It's good to see this moving forward. I think I'm 37 years old, and I think there's this issue is largely related to let's say younger people are more on board with this type of stuff. I don't consider myself young, but it's the idea to me that like anything related to the LGBTQ community of not pure equal protection under the law or pure equality it's just so backwards to me. It's not even an issue in my mind, and the fact that we still need to talk about it says a lot to where we are.
Yeah, well, I think we need more of protections here in this state. People can still be discriminated in housing and in commerce, and I think what you said, equal protections, the human rights, right?
Yeah.
The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't know why any of us should be denied those. We have a couple of questions. Just take them real quick. Mike wants to know what your thoughts are about a major university in our LD23 area.
Is this Mike Norton?
Yeah.
Oh, Mike Norton and I had spoken about this previously. Listen, you want to bring a major university into LE23? I'm all for it. I mean, higher education. I'm pro education. I'm pro higher education. A major university would bring high quality jobs. Would bring smart people. I mean, this would be an economic boon. Let's do it.
Okay. Courtney Burnett. Hi, Courtney. She wants to know what's your position on the Department of Disabilities and the funding for the Department of Disability. Triple D. She says, I know they cut funding to this department to balance the budget in the past. What are your thoughts?
Um, Again, it's pre-COVID, post-COVID type thing. I don't know where the budget shortfall on COVID is gonna hit. The rainy day fund needs to be accessed as a minimum. Headed into a recession, we certainly don't want. We Ideally it's not to raise taxes, and ideally it's not to cut spending, but those things are don't work well together for a state budget that needs to remain balanced. But I mean, cutting any funding towards anyone that's whether it's through disability or through other ways disadvantaged, no, that's not on the table. No.
Well, we are going to have to find money, my friend. I don't think cuts are acceptable. We have a budget that is the size of a peanut when we need when we need a bowl of nuts, and all we have is some nuts down at the legislature. So as we get rid of people, then we can do a wholesale kind of forensic exam of all these tax cuts that have happened, all these tax credits that are happening now. I think we need to collect the revenues we're supposed to be collecting rather than doling them out to special interests. And quite frankly, if we need to put something on the ballot as a temporary sales tax increase, just like our Republican Governor Jan Brewer did for 2 or 3 years, that didn't stop the economy from churning. It did have a stopgap measure, and it might have to be done. I know that the Democrat caucus doesn't like that because they say it's not a progressive form of tax. It hurts people, but it's the fastest way you can get some liquidity into the budget and not cut vital services. Hey, I want to get also now to, thanks for answering those, about 8 minutes left. So let's talk about, first real quickly, you attended the Black Lives Matters March. That was canceled for a while. What were your thoughts on that? You touched on it momentarily. Let's go ahead and talk about Fountain Hills.
Sure. So I attended my first Black Lives Matter protest about 2 weeks ago. I finally broke down and went. And I mean, the only reason why I think most of us, if we haven't gone, haven't gone, is because of COVID, right? We are trying to balance two things right now. We're trying to remain responsible and not try to contribute to the spread of COVID. If we're around people in higher risk groups, we certainly don't want to put their lives at risk. I took that very seriously. And when I did go, I wore a mask, and to the first one, I believe I wore gloves also, and social distance. Yesterday in Fountain Hills was fantastic. What initially happened to those kids was disgusting. And I don't think it's representative of the people of Fountain Hills, what they saw, but I'm very glad that, the mayor and people knowing the difference in right and wrong, supported these kids having that protest put back on, yourself included. And it was great to see them finally do it. I went, I heard them speak. They were amazing. It was great hearing it from their point of view. And then the actual march itself was great. First of all, everyone knows that we're there fighting COVID, so social distancing was the norm there. Everyone had a mask. The counter protesters, from what I saw, which there were plenty of, were fairly respectful. When the kids were speaking, they weren't yelling, they weren't screaming, they weren't interrupting. I appreciated that. As we began to march, the counter protesters more or less went with us, sort of in the middle of the road, which I found puzzling. But they did follow us. The march itself was invigorating, chanting. We got to see people at restaurants, on balconies. We got to see people up in the balconies of apartment buildings. Most were supporting, not all were supporting, but it was great to see the supporters, and even those that were against. They're trying to express their views as well. But it was great to see so many people show up for a cause in a place that's usually considered to be quite conservative. It felt really good to be out there with them.
Yeah, I'm very proud of those students that have grown up and started taking an active role in democracy. I don't care what side you are on the issue. You got to be proud that the next generation is coming up and embracing democracy the way they have. Let's talk about another issue that's happened this week. Again, when I say longest week of the year, I mean every week has just been longer and longer and longer. The hits keep coming. 2020 has lasted 30 years. So there was an unmasking protest real close to your home at the Civic Center over in downtown Scottsdale, Old Town. And one Guy Phillips got the party all together, a couple hundred people, I guess it was, and he had made some unfortunate moves. So what are your thoughts on Mr. Phillips and what happened?
Yeah, I mean, before what happened the other day, I didn't agree with Guy Phillips on most things. But what happened the other day was disgusting. I mean, it didn't just cross the line. The line was nowhere in sight. It was, I mean, it was racist. It was mocking those who have recently died, and mocking those who've died under those circumstances, and mocking those who have died who are now part of a huge cause, a huge movement that's taking place in our country. I mean, I couldn't imagine anything worse, and there was nothing accidental about it. I mean, it was if you watch the video, it's very straightforward what he was doing. I'm not in favor of what they're doing there in the first place, having an unmasked protest. I respect their right to do it under the First Amendment, just as we went out the other day. I think it's, stupid and absurd to be out there spreading the virus. I think it's irresponsible. I think you're not only ignoring what's going on, but you're actively contributing to something terrible going on. So all the people out there, I disagree with them immensely. My opponent was out there. She spoke at the rally, and she heard what Guy Phillips said, and pure racism. She was at the the Trump rally the day before, where he said his fair share of things as well, calling it the Kung flu, saying other terrible things about Black Lives Matter, about everything, racist stuff, and she was there as well. Is she cheering during this? Is she applauding? Is she clapping? Does she support these words? Because if she does, I need to know. That's something voters do need.
You've already got your answer. She hasn't done anything to denounce them. Silence is complicity. So you can just assume she supports it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think all three of our representatives have been silent, and that's shocking. There should be no partisan divide on that issue. This is not a Republican or a Democrat thing. This is blatant racism out there in public, spoken out loud. No one is for that. No party is for that. And our representatives need to say that. That's not asking much. This is not asking them to cross their party. This is asking them to be human beings.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many things to be bothered by just about the rally itself. You mentioned First Amendment. They have First Amendment rights. I would push back on that just a bit, because you don't have the right to yell fire in a crowded theater.
No.
You don't have the right to disobey any kind of law where you put other people's safety in jeopardy. So my brother down in Florida, he was actually on the show. He's a surgeon. He runs a medical kind of facility where he has patients come in, he does some surgeries. Well, one of the gals that works in the front office had a birthday. And he lives in Fort Myers, and some kids that she knew came up from Miami Beach, and they went out to the bar, and sure as heck, she got the COVID, right? She had coronavirus, started feeling sick, goes home. My brother now has the coronavirus. His daughter now has the coronavirus, being sequestered or put away over at the Naval Academy. This stuff is real. And we have a consistent ignorance of science, of intelligence. It started a long time ago. In this party, it's been underneath, where it says basically the elites, those with the higher education, can't trust them, trying to take over the world, and all these things. And it's just flamed by the internet and people kind of being in their bubbles. So for me, that was horrible in itself. What he said, I've had some online arguments with people who will say, well, you don't know what's in his heart. He's not a racist. I know him. He said the wrong thing, or he didn't really plan it. you know what? Even if we disagree with that, which we don't, generally it's 90% to 10%. This is what I want to say to Guy Phillips, and this is what I want to say to all the other people who are just standing by and watching. And this is probably, where Jay Lawrence comes in. Dear Jay, talk to your boy, Guy Phillips. The Giants and every other facility around the United States that wants to come here and do business. This is a business decision for you right now. You cannot allow this black eye to continue. You can't keep getting punches in an environment that we're in. So just get your economic bona fides together, take that guy into the corner, pull your mask off and say, hey, bud, if you really care about the city you're running to get elected in, then put your personal self aside and say, I'll do what's right for the city and I will step down. You don't have to admit there's any wrongdoing, but you, sir, are a stain on the economy, and that involves us all. So get the heck out of the race, fall on your sword, and say something like, I didn't mean this to happen. I chose my words illy, or, I wasn't well thought out with my words. I was really nervous in front of the crowd. I love this city, and because I love it, I'm going to step down from running for re-election. God bless America. Whatever he says at the end of that speech. Do the right thing. Put the city above your own personal interests. Boom. Gosh darn, this stuff gets me gassed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and thank you for your leadership on this. I mean, I know you had Guy Phillips scheduled for.
Screw that. It's you know what? I was really looking forward to having him on.
Yeah.
Through all the things he posted, I have things that I printed out, right? Just this stupid little thing he wrote about his signs being taken down, and he talks about peaceful demonstration, blah blah blah, and then he talks about how it's a leftist plot. What are you talking about, leftist plot? I mean, that's what I wanted. And then he talked about like the judiciary, which is a leftist judiciary. What place is that? I really wanted to question him, but we got to the point where he could not have a stage to spew his hate. Yeah. And I didn't want to give him a chance to gaslight and cover it up over with everybody. Allow him to do that in other places. Here's what I'm saying. Just don't run for re-election now. Do what's right by the city. Support whoever else you want. I got no problem with Betty Janik. I got no problem with Bob Littlefield. I got no problem with Tom Durham. I think those three guys who are kind of running on a close slate, I think they ought to have an intimate conversation with their friend and say, friend, not only are you hurting the city, you're hurting our re-election, our election chances. Maybe they'll just come, after this weekend, he'll come to his senses. I hope. Wow. Nigel has a question, so I'm going to ask it because he's a great dude and he speaks with a funny accent. What about the environment? Rising temperatures in the area, water resources and fires, etc. Should our state legislature be doing about this? And then we'll get to the game, I promise.
Sure. I mean, again, it's sort of to invoke my age for a moment, 37 years old, and I have a nephew who I'm very fond of who's just turned 4. I'm going to be on this planet for a while longer. You're going to be on this planet for a while longer. My nephew's my nephew's going to be on this planet for a while longer. And it's not, as much, older generations that future we're mortgaging, or even my generation. It's the next generations of future that we're mortgaging, and they're the next generation after that, because it doesn't end with us. We're still going to have kids on this planet, and their kids are going to be on planets, and those are my family members, and I want them to live in a world that's habitable. I appreciate that the Sierra Club endorsed myself in our campaign. I am certainly on board with anything we can do to mitigate climate change and protect the environment. What's been done over the last 3 years is terrible. I mean, and before we get to even climate change, just asking for clean air and clean water has become a controversial issue. And that, I thought we agreed on that in the 70s, but.
And that's where, my friend, if you want to talk about incentives, let's talk about incentives to change the dynamics of the economy that has a lasting effect. So you and I can talk about that. That's good. You're endorsed by the Sierra Club. That's a nice endorsement. Congratulations on that. So next week, as we have people here, I know they wait for the show, which is just the game. They don't really listen to us. So if you're listening, next Monday we have Last Mayoral Monday. We have Suzanne Clapp joining us on Monday. In lieu of Guy Phillips, we're going to try to have a panel discussion on diversity and moving forward and treating each other a little bit better, trying to kind of really push some questions. I know we have 2 women who are involved in that line of work already. We're trying to secure a couple more. People, if you have anybody, send us a line, and we'd love to have them on the panel. Wednesday, we're going to have Adrian Fontes, county recorder. And Thursday, we're hoping to get Mayor Lane, so we'll see if he comes through. I know that he's had some tough decisions to make, and I'd really love to talk to him about that, because I'll say this to you right out there. Jim, if you're out there, I support you as to what you're doing. These are tough decisions. Let me help you. What can I do to help you? Anyway, I'm just kidding. Mayor Lane, come on. We'll be fine. You can even come up with your own questions. I don't mind. Just
he's been doing good lately, though, on Guy Phillips, on the mask policy. Like, he's a smart man, and he's been making some good decisions lately, and it's very nice.
He's been doing well. He's been doing well. And let's together ask people, if they're out there, please just wear a mask.
Yes.
Wear a mask. And if you're not going to wear a mask, please don't wear any clothes so I can see you from a mile away and stay away from you, okay? Just go butt naked. I mean, really, let your freak flag fly, right? If you're not going to cover up this part because it's itchy, take off all the clothes. Go big or go home. I would like it if you went home. Okay, ready to play a little game?
Absolutely. We didn't do it last time, so I am
and you are very tough to plan for. I had a great game about the number 3. Didn't really like that one, so I'm going to go with the number 2. And we're not talking about number 2 like bathroom humor. We're talking about choices, this or that.
Okay.
So there's I'm going to ask you A or B. Leave a little time so people in their heads out there in the show can kind of play along. And we're going to play a little of how well do you know Seth Blattman? So here we go. A or B, dog or cat?
It's a good question. I'll let the people think about it, but it's an easy answer for me. A, dogs.
A, dog. All right. A or B, phone call or text?
My answer as a person will be B, text. But
you're on the younger side than 37. Hey, look at that. Nigel has put in something. I think that's Nigel. Okay. This is a great question. It came from somebody. We're going to do A or B. Parrot or ferret?
Okay. I'm going to go with B, ferret, because I have a recent friend who
Nobody wants a definition, Seth. We just want to go with this, all right? We're trying to get to know you. Okay, here we go. Sea monkey. What the heck is that? Oh, that was Andy. Okay. Chicken or steak?
B.
B, steak. Okay. While you're walking or working out, are you listening to music or podcasts? A or B?
B.
Okay. Yeah. A or B, early bird or night owl?
Neither, but I'll go with night owl.
Again, you need to be a politician here. You can't just say neither. You got to go hard, go strong, and don't. All right, here we go. Odd or even?
Even. B.
Odd. Poker or blackjack?
Blackjack.
We were looking for poker. The correct answer was poker. No, I'm just kidding. He's going big. Okay. A or B, cake or pie?
I'm going to go pie.
Oh, my God. Andy, I cannot ask that question. I can't believe you put it up there. That was from like MTV back with Bill Clinton. Can't do it. Okay.
And sourdough bread.
No. I won't even ask about that. Bad stuff. It's sour. A or B, bagel or bialy, my Jewish friend?
Bagel.
I'm right there with you. Although I do like a good bialy. It's just such a problem cutting that thing and putting on the Nova. You always get awkward, right? Here's the thing. If you're making a sandwich, and I go to a place, I won't go to Subway, but if I go to like Jersey Mike's and that bread is off like 3/4, 1/4, that can ruin the whole sandwich. You could put the same amount of meat, the same amount of fixings, the same amount of Mike's dressing on there, but if you got a sandwich that's totally out of whack proportional, doesn't work with my mouth. Okay. Are you A or B? Big party or small gathering?
B.
Small gathering. Okay. All right. A or B? I think I know this one. Football or basketball? Watching.
Football.
Right. Okay. I think I know this one too. A or B? Nice car or a nice home?
Nice home.
Ah, very surprising. Okay. What's worse, Seth? A or B? Laundry or dishes?
Oh, dishes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Are you the kind of guy that folds your clothes out of the dryer, or do you hang everything up?
I certainly am not someone that's hanging up every article of clothing.
Oh, I'm a hanger. I am a hanger for sure. I think
And
you reduce the wrinkles there. I think you save on the dry cleaning bill. That's my fiscal conservative side right there.
and I hate
Okay. Hamburger or pizza?
pizza.
Did I just say pizza? I meant to say pizza. Okay. Online shopping or shopping in a store?
Online shopping.
Very good. Would you like to receive an email or a letter?
Email.
I, I hmm. You don't have a nice letter? How about a letter with a nice check in it that says, it's like Seth for the house or Seth, whatever you call your campaign committee. That's a beauty. Okay. Are you the passenger or the driver, young man?
Driver.
Okay. Tablet or computer?
Computer.
If you go to the movie, are you going candy or popcorn?
Popcorn.
Absolutely. Final two here. When you put cups in the cupboard, do you turn them down or up?
Well, you're gonna get dust in them if you turn them up, so down.
But if you turn them down, you're going to get like that. There's always a little bit of water, and that stuff gets mildew. At least it did where I grew up. Okay, here's the last one. Over or under?
Over.
Absolutely. Anybody that tells you under, I don't know if you can trust them. Okay, Seth Blattman, where can people get more information on your campaign? Let's put that in the feed.
Sure. SethBlattman.com is where you can learn more about us. We're also doing an interview, one of our first interviews. I know you've been doing this every day. Great service to the community.
I didn't get the invite. What time are you interviewing me?
The mail. The mail. But no, it's at 11 a.m. tomorrow. We are interviewing Dr. Manny Oladin, an old friend of mine, about COVID-19 and trying to learn more about it and dispose any myths that some other people might be putting out there.
One question from the famous threesomes, or no?
Yes.
I won't ask it.
Okay, thank you.
You're too good of a man. Okay. Thank you very much, Seth Blattman. We'll be here next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and hopefully Thursday with Mayor Lane. If not, tune in Monday. We'll talk to our last mayoral candidate, Suzanne Clapp. We'll ask her about the events of the day. So thanks very much, Seth. Enjoy your Friday. Try not to have too much fun that you can't wake up in the morning. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good weekend.